mugwumps. They're everywhere. They're speaking out at board meetings, city hall, town square, courthouse, state house, even the White House. They must be stopped. They are disruptors.
Welcome everyone to Mugwump Media, and welcome once again to Disruptor Central. Now over here on my right, once again, is my husband Kevin. Kevin, are you tired of hearing about Jefferson City yet?
I'm very tired of hearing of Jefferson City right now.
Yeah, poor Kevin has been having to listen to me rattling on and on and on about the goings-on this week. And I tell you, I'm learning. I'm getting an education. This whole podcast thing, there was a lot I didn't know, and I'm definitely learning. And sweet Lisa Durnell helped me out, told me about a couple of really neat, a Substack, a Facebook page, some neat places to find good information. There's not a lot of good information on Missouri news, definitely nothing on mainstream news, but there are some places that you can find information if you can't just go up there and sit through all the meetings yourself. Oh, Lord, Kevin, I don't think I could do that. Wow.
No.
It'd be nuts.
No.
Anyway, I did spend, and that group is called Shield Maidens of Missouri, and wonderful folks, very dedicated ladies. They've done this for years. So a shout out to Stacy Shore and Lisa Panette. And I very much enjoyed their report, and it was a long one. This one's not going to be that long. This is Cliff Notes, okay? Cliff Notes, Kevin.
I don't know who Cliff is.
Right. All right. Well, this is going to be for last week, April 28th through May 2nd. And there's going to be, technically, we've got one more week to go, but there'll be 2 more weeks from this one that stuff's going to be happening. So it's moving fast. Now, I did spend some time this week sorting through the things that have made it to the governor's desk. And it's crazy, just for some perspective, since the legislative session began in January 8th, they were sworn in. But at that point, up until the last week in April, only 6 bills had passed and actually made it to the governor's desk. Kevin, delay. What the heck? Anyway, this last week in April, well, something got fired up and kicked in because that week 8 passed through and are now ready to be signed into law. Now, Kevin, I read some of those bills. I listened. I didn't read the bills themselves, but I was reading on the Substack. I was listening to what the ladies were talking about as they broke it down. I was amazed. Amazed that the main things that we were told were going to be passed are not passed yet. And I don't know. It's there's some strange things. There's some slightly underwhelming things, but I thought I would give you guys just a very brief report on what was going on. Now, do you remember when we did a legislative update a few weeks ago, earlier in the session, when I talked to you about the fact that so many of these bills, really, they're not constitutional. They end up loading them down with stuff. They start out small. Usually it's, a senator or a representative in all good faith that is trying to do something for their constituents. And certain bills, a lot of them never make it anywhere, but then certain bills, they load them down like a Christmas tree with ornaments on them. They sometimes become Frankenstein. Have you heard of Frankenstein bills, Kevin?
Well, I've heard of Frankenstein. Lots of parts of lots of people, and wonder if that has something to do with artificial intelligence.
I don't know. I'm wondering myself, actually. Anyway.
In the movie, The Brain was part of it, I guess. That could be. Yeah. Well, that wasn't artificial, though. So.
Pinky in the Brain, taking over the world.
Pinky in the Brain.
That's right. Anyway, they're really not constitutional. They're just too big. They're supposed to be one subject, as we've talked about before. And, well, let's just say that ship sailed a long time ago, Kevin. Some of these bills are enormous, many pages.
Been a canoe.
Sorry?
May have been a canoe.
May have been a canoe.
Ship, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. In the final days of session, an amendment to a bill, this was something that Stacy and Lisa were talking about. They've done this for years, and they said used to. An amendment would be a few paragraphs. Could be 30 or 40 pages now. Crazy, crazy. A trend that the ladies noticed over the last week or so, specifically this session, of course, was that more than what they'd seen in the past, is that there are many bills that they are deciding to call into conference. Conference, Kevin. The Speaker of the House, in this case Patterson, of course, John Patterson, and the pro tem of the Senate, Cindy McLaughlin, choose the representatives or senators in the House and the Senate to go behind closed doors to work through issues with the bill, Kevin. Now, this isn't always done. This is not something that is necessarily normal protocol. And this is where problems often begin with these bills. Remember, I told you that the public is usually able to watch real time, which is neat, part of the process, like you're part of actually working out the bills for you. This is for the public of Missouri.
Public meetings.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Well, once they disappear behind closed doors in committee, out of view of the public, things begin to happen, Kevin.
Backroom deals.
That's right. The bill is often manipulated. Things are added. Things are eliminated. And the core of what made it a good bill in the first place, something that the representatives meant to serve their constituents' needs, can be removed. The bill can be changed completely. From that point on, you could call it a Frankenstein bill, which is what we talked about. There's one Frankenstein bill that made it through that is really strange, and I'll tell you just a little about that when we get to it. There's only 8 of them, so it's not going to take forever to go through. Now, once that bill is out of conference, they bring it out on a rapid path to create an omnibus. And you guys know, if you've watched the national news, these omnibus bills are enormous. Everything but the kitchen sink gets put in to try to get people to vote for them, right? And of course, nobody ever has time to read them. And even good, honest legislators, they're intimidated and overwhelmed by this process. And Kevin, I think the thing that is so frustrating about this, first of all, this is the same mess that's going on in Washington, D.C. that makes us all so mad. What are they like at 30% approval or less now?
It varies.
The thing that's so irritating is we have a supermajority of Republicans in the Missouri House and Senate, and yet they act like we're a minority. Nothing ever gets done in a position of strength. Whether you like Trump or not, everything he does is in a position of strength. He truly knows where he's at in the deal. And there seems to be no recognition of the mandate of those who voted us in, or who voted them in, which would be us. So here's a rundown, as quickly as possible. I don't want to bore you all, of the fast track of bills that just landed on the governor's desk. Now, the first one, SB 1. Now, this one seems innocent enough, Kevin. It has to do with Missouri county officials' salary increases. They're getting an increase. But the second part is a little murky. It's a bill which would give the state auditor the authority to audit any kind and character. Now, what do you think that means?
I don't know. Kind and characters, that's pretty... I don't know.
It sounds weird. And auditors, I always assumed that they were auditing a process or auditing money. How much money did it cost, right? So why would they be auditing any kind and character? Not sure what that wording meant. And the ladies didn't know either. That was the thing they brought up. They were a little concerned about a state individual who's auditing citizens' kind and character. So I don't know. Sounds a little too much like ESG, which would be environmental social governance to myself and others. And maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know. This is something I'm going to have to ask Lisa about whenever we're hoping Lisa will show up and talk. I know. Anyway, this is going to be signed. SB 98, Memorandum of Understanding with the Director of Finance related to bank safety.
I like understanding.
Yeah. Do you think banks aren't safe?
Well, there's safes there, so I guess I don't know.
That's brilliant, Kevin. Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah. Now, the thing here, this is crazy because one person has a lot of responsibility.
Lots of safety deposit boxes in the bank, too.
This is true. Now, the Director of Finance in Missouri, I believe the ladies said this too. I believe they're appointed by the governor, chain of authority. Possibly he would have some direction as to checks and balances. I don't know. I'm hoping so. I'm assuming that's still the case. Don't know. Whoever appoints this official, however, they are given a boatload of authority. The Director of Finance is in charge of Missouri's FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance. Now, you know that there is FDIC federal. which that's scary too, because not too long ago, there was somebody caught on a hot mic. Do you remember that going around the news? I think Dan Bongino actually had it on, but somebody was saying, well, we got to make sure the public doesn't know that there's not enough money in the FDIC in case all these banks fall, because there was a rash of banks closing, small banks, and luckily they got gobbled up by bigger banks. Maybe luckily, I don't know. But apparently, and maybe somebody in Missouri decided, I don't know who the author of the bill was, but perhaps somebody decided maybe Missouri needs to have a pool of money to assist. I don't know. Again, a question for Lisa and maybe Bert. Anyway, and they're in charge of picking the bank and pooling the funds for Missouri's FDIC. In this bill, banks and credit unions, and this is weird, will report suspected fraud to police. That's not weird, Kevin. But they're also going to be reporting to any public protection agency. Now, who are they going to be giving our information to, Kevin?
Well, I don't know.
Again, strange wording. And that it always concerns me whenever things are vague in this way. Anyway, apparently the all-powerful director of finance can also issue stocks if acceptable to him or her. So this person has lots of stuff that they're going to be doing. This, again, will be signed by the governor. SB 396. This one's easy. One subject, change for the Library Board of Trustees dates. Okay. HB 974. Now, this is a true Frankenstein bill, Kevin. This one is creepy. It started out as a special interest bill, probably somebody like Uber Eats, somebody who had several cars, who had people who drove food around, a private business that probably was having a hard time paying insurance on all the cars, right? Insurance is horrible. And anybody out there who is paying for insurance knows that's the case. So they probably went to their representative and said, you know what? Can we do, it started out a car-to-car insurance sharing program for a private business. Now, what it mysteriously became was the Insurance Data Security Act. Frankenstein, Kevin. In this bill, there are now 20 pages of cybersecurity. Little did you know, insurance involved cybersecurity, Kevin.
Well, yeah. Sounds like,
don't know where that...
Seems like there's an awful lot of information being...
I know.
...directed to different places.
It's strange. It makes you wonder where it all came from. Now, here's the perplexing and slightly alarming thing about this mysterious change. According to the two ladies that put together this video on their Substack, when one of them became suspicious, she said, I've heard this before. What is this? So when they did, one of them did a deep dive into this oddly familiar wording and the transformation of this bill, and they came up with this, the Privacy and Information Log Blog. Now, what this is, it's basically global privacy and cybersecurity updates. Kevin, I smell a rat.
Well, I got stuck on log blog. That just doesn't sound not comforting.
Global privacy and cybersecurity updates.
Global's concerning.
I know. And after digging a little bit deeper, a familiar theme from President Obama's terms in the White House began to emerge. President Obama's analysis on data security and student privacy. So, Kevin, do you think that this has something to do with data collection?
Well, I'm starting to feel a little unsafe.
It's, again, wording. Wording is everything, and it makes me wonder how this even changed from a car-sharing insurance deal for a private business to this weird stuff. I don't know. Again, note to self, bookmark. I need to ask one of the 10 about this. And it also contains data breach notification. And I hate to sound all paranoid, but again, I would really be interested. So help me remember this, Kevin. We need to ask Lisa about this, or Bert, if they come and visit with us after the session. Now, SCR 3 modified the mission statement of Missouri Southern State University, so their mission statement has now been adjusted. It's a clean bill. That was all it said. HB 169 modified provisions relating to cotton trailers. Kevin, I didn't know there were that many cotton trailers in the state of Missouri.
I don't know that I've ever seen one.
I know. Well, we don't live in that part of the state, maybe in the Boot Heel.
True. Yeah.
Apparently, it was something about reconciling the state laws with federal laws. At least that's what it sounded like to me. HB 296 modified provisions relating to school bus endorsements. Apparently, it raised the age, possibly from 70 to 75 for school bus drivers, Kevin. I'm suspecting they're having a hard time finding school bus drivers.
Well, yeah, that sounds pretty.
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty. I wonder if I could be a bus driver.
Well, you're not 75.
Fitting the age.
You are. This is true. All right. So.
Supplement our income.
Oh, yes. Yes. Now, and we're almost done, Kevin. Almost done. Okay. HJR 23 requires all county assessors in charter counties to be elected. I thought they already were. Now, apparently, Jackson County had an unelected assessor that was driving rates through the roof. So now they got that fixed. So everybody, and again, chain of authority, right? Brian Rollman always talks about that.
Well, and don't we elect those people ourselves?
Apparently, Jackson County didn't. So
the county didn't elect their own assessor?
Yeah, had an unelected assessor, and he was not doing a good job. So,
okay.
But that's fixed now, so that's good.
Good.
Now, you guys have just had this brief rundown. Here are my thoughts on all these bills that are passed and sitting on the governor's desk after 4 months. 4 months, Kevin. 4 months.
The priorities.
And there are a few more. There's one on utility bills. There's a couple of others that have been passed already, a few others. But this is not much after 4 months of work, right? And here's the thing. Even though I know each and every one of them has a purpose, I'm glad for the people with the school buses. I'm glad for the cotton trailer thing, I think. I don't know. I know that these things are necessary. Definitely glad for the people that now have an elected assessor. This is all a good thing. But here's the thing. I guess I'm just disappointed in how underwhelming this all is. After all, we were told that Speaker Patterson's top priorities were fixing Amendment 3 and IP reform. Now, by the time this comes out on Sunday, this is Thursday evening, there may be something through on IP reform. I don't know. I'm not sure what's in the pipeline.
Let's hope so.
Right. Yeah. Also, HJR 33, I believe, is the number of the fix for Amendment 3, the fix for Amendment 3. I received an email. I told you I get a lot of emails, a lot of information to piece through. I got an email 2 days ago, I believe, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, basically telling you, call your senator because HJR 33 is coming down the pipeline. Tell them to vote for it. This is, again, the fix for Amendment 3. And I'm not going to go into it tonight. I don't want to drag it out too long. We'll talk about it in another show, probably a little bit. It definitely is better than the original was, Kevin. It's better. There are some things that are that they did fix. And
better's okay, but it's
I know
still disappointing.
Well, it's not as disappointing as what. And I'll get to that here in just a moment. But anyway, that may have already been voted on. I do not know. And by the time this comes out, it may have been voted on. So I guess we'll deal with that whenever that happens. But again, this has been almost 4 months and nothing really has been done. And keep in mind, Kevin, even after, if this man, and as quick as it comes onto the floor, it's going to get filibustered. The Democrats will be out there in force filibustering it. And, who knows what's going to happen with this bill? Again, it's so frustrating that the Republicans never get together, really, and never come at it with strength, with an attitude of unity and strength. Yeah, anyway.
Supermajority.
There's some things that have to change.
Yes.
And for your information, this is what didn't pass. This is what you're going to be disappointed in, Kevin. Matter of fact, it didn't even make it out of committee. Now, do you remember what I talked about a couple of weeks ago, I believe? I talked about the 10. I know that Bert Whaley had brought up one of the bills. I know that Justin Sparks, and I know Justin's was actually included in this. I believe Brian Seitz had one also, but I'm not sure which one, his or Bert's, was blended in and brought together in this bill. HB 1072 and HB 1417. Now, these two bills are the same. The Missouri Prenatal Equal Protection Act. The Missouri House Families and Children Committee voted against giving this act a due pass recommendation. Now, this legislation would have abolished abortion in Missouri because it would have recognized the personhood of preborn infants from conception on.
Party platform.
Yes, the Republican platform in Missouri is a pro-life platform. This is true. It would have knocked the legs out from under Amendment 3. Now, what I'm going to tell you is going to make you, and again, folks, not all Republicans believe as strongly as Kevin and I do, and you can always agree to disagree, and it's good to vote together on the things that matter. It's a good thing to, we're pretty conservative, but not every Republican considers babies to be babies from the very moment of conception. Some people have a different view. Some people think 6 weeks. Some people think 12 weeks. Hopefully nobody thinks birth. They're a baby long before birth. Everybody has their own view of this. But I got to tell you, I was pretty disappointed in what happened with a bunch of Republicans that showed up in that committee and the way that they voted. And I'm going to tell you who they were, because if you are somebody that is not in our immediate area and these are your Republican representatives, you need to know. Like I said, however you feel about where life actually begins, it is in the Republican platform. And if you feel strongly about something, then doggone it, you need to be willing to stand up and say it and get it on the record. And that's what they did this time. Now, of this bunch, 3 Republican members voted yes. Only 3. 7 Republican members voted no. And 5 Republican members voted present, with 1 actually stepping out of the room. Now, I'm going to give you the names. Wendy Hausman, again, these are all Republicans. Wendy Hausman and Tara Peters voted no. David Dolan, Becky Lobinger, Melissa Schmidt, Mike Koslow, and Terry Violet voted present. They didn't want to record their votes in voting for the personhood bill. And Kathy Jo Loy, she stepped out of the room to avoid going on the record. And I got to tell you, folks, 3 Republicans, they stood up and they voted yes. Ann Kelly, Holly Jones, and Jamie Gregg.
Our representative.
Jamie's our representative.
Yes, thank you, Jamie.
Jamie, we're proud of you.
Yes.
You did good. Now, and you know what? If these folks, whether they're your representative or not, if you want to send them an email or a call and thank them, it's a good thing when people decide to step up, even if it's unpopular.
Yes.
I love it. I think it's wonderful. Ann Kelly, Holly Jones, and Jamie Gregg. Now, folks, while this is disappointing, I'm going to give you some good news. This is the good news section. Okay?
All right, good news.
This is all part of a much bigger picture. I tell you, God has taken us on quite a journey. Meeting the 10, talking to them, really did something to my heart. And when we decided, and folks, we're not making any cash on this. We're 65 years old and we work all the time. It's hard to work all day, 5 or 6 days a week, and then get these podcasts together. But we do it because we have a burning desire to get information out there. There's not enough good information. Lord knows you can't trust even local media in Springfield and in the state of Missouri. Yeah, they say a few things about what's going on.
Fake news.
Unfortunately, anymore much of it is.
Yep.
There's going to have to be a network of people hearing the truth and holding people accountable. It's got to be done. Now, good news. When this vote came out, the Foundation to Abolish Abortion in Missouri posted this on Facebook right after the vote. They said that although the vote is disappointing, it nevertheless shows that equal protection is advancing in Missouri. The last time an abolish bill came before the committee 2 years ago, it was dismissed, basically. It was given a few minutes for testimony, but it was never even taken up for a vote. This time, it was given a full 2-hour hearing and a recorded vote, and we know who stood up and who didn't, and who stepped out of the room because they were afraid to put their name on the record. Folks, the old establishment guard, those people who won't even stand for the true will of the people, or even for the conservative Republican platform, they're in trouble, and they don't even know it. They're on the way out. Remember, Gen Z might just turn out to be the most conservative generation in 80 years. The winds of change are coming when it's time. I'm going to read something to you that I absolutely love. David Wassinger. Now, remember, I told you about him. Watch him. Him and our Secretary of State. He's a great one. I read a little bit, talked a little bit about him last week. David Wassinger is our lieutenant governor. And, there was a little bit of a kerfuffle about him this week, Kevin. And what it was over was basically he spoke very frankly. And I mean, people were applauding it. I was applauding it. When I first saw it on Facebook, I thought it was wonderful. He spoke for us.
Yes.
Absolutely spoke for us. Somebody made the comment that they were concerned that possibly he was going to try to do away with the filibuster.
That's a concern.
Yeah, and I was hoping that he would. I have not looked today to see if he actually answered it. I can't imagine that would be the case. I think he's smarter than that. There needs to be a filibuster. But here's the thing, and Kevin, you and I talked about this on the way back from our grandson's basketball game tonight. Isn't it sad that with a supermajority of Republicans, we have to rely on a few conservatives filibustering just to stop this barrage of horrible bills that are being signed in by these moderates? That's shameful. The answer is we've got to convert those people. They've got to come around to the way of thinking of the people of Missouri, the real majority.
Like Moon said, bring them home.
Bring them home.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, and I think he's a good one, and hopefully that's not the case with him, because it is good. And, I mean, if we're, oh, God help us, I hope we're never the minority again. But if we are, it's true. A filibuster is...
I don't think Gen Z is going to let us be the minority.
Oh, lordy me. Most conservative generation in 80 years. They're sick of it, for sure. I'm going to read this to you from David Wassinger. He is the president of the Senate. Now, he said, my observations after presiding over the Missouri State Senate for a little over 100 days... I ran for office as an outsider, ready to bring a fresh perspective to Jefferson City, and promised to work on changing the way things are done in our capital. For far too long, we have had a broken system in the Missouri Senate and the House. I mean, got a lot of the same stuff going on, where meaningful conservative legislation languishes and valuable time is wasted on the Senate floor. I've repeatedly seen arcane Senate rules stall progress on or completely block good legislation that would improve the lives of Missourians. We've had no success in passing reforms to Amendment 3, Proposition A, DEI, school choice, SAPA, the Second Amendment Protection Act, or passing meaningful tax relief for Missouri working families. Like many Missourians, I am deeply frustrated by the lack of action on the agenda voters expected us to champion, an agenda rooted in conservative Missouri values, like us.
Yes.
Many other states have made reforms to their Senate rules, and it is time Missouri does so as well. This isn't about any individual senator. It's about a system in Jefferson City in much need of common sense reforms.
Yes.
As president of the Senate, I'm committed to doing what the people of Missouri elected us to do in passing good conservative laws, and I look forward to working with senators and Senate staff to ensure we have a system that serves Missourians. I absolutely love this. And like I said, hopefully he'll get the little kerfuffle worked out and everybody won't be all mad at him again. There were a lot of people that were not happy.
We'll keep listening.
We'll keep listening. We'll let you know. And, I believe that this is all part of what God's doing. It started with the national, and there are other. Kevin, have you heard Mark Levin was talking last night about the Florida House? Apparently all hell has broken out there. There's also the Texas House of Representatives, and I think it's maybe Idaho. But there are crazy things. There are uprisings all over the country now, apparently. And like I've said before, I think that now we've got Trump in with all his faults and flaws and with all his good stuff too, with his strength. And I think that it's kind of a covering, and all this other stuff is coming up and being exposed now too. So, and you know what, folks? This is only the beginning. It's only the beginning. And we're so glad that you joined us this evening. We hope that you enjoyed the update. And next week, man, I am really stoked about the things that Trump is doing. And some people are like, oh, I don't know about this, bringing in a faith office. And you know what? Bring it on. I'm glad. I had somebody.
I think that's what Elijah said. He said, bring it on.
Well, and the reason that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what? That's very true.
Yep. He went against the odds. He trusted God, and God delivered, definitely.
A contest between his God and the fake gods of Baal. And you know what? I heard a lady one time make the comment. She said, well, I'm really kind of glad we don't have prayer in school. I'm really kind of glad we don't have any of that because I don't want my kids learning about somebody else's religion. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Look what we got now. This is 20 years ago. Now we have people shooting each other in school. When you have a vacuum, when you have a void, you better believe that Satan will come in and he'll fill that void. Just like God with the prophets of Baal. You know what? Bring it on.
Yep.
Our God is strong enough to stand up. If somebody wants to bring some other weird religion in, I'll just bet you if we start praying, if we start having... And from what I've heard, his House of Faith, basically, it's run by Paula White, who seems like a really good gal. And she's the one who first apparently ministered to Trump and witnessed him being saved, accepting Christ. He's got her at the head of it. And apparently he's going to have people of faith in every department. And they're going to be watching to make sure we don't have any more of this. I tell you what triggered it is all those people, was it 20 people? The praying grandma, people that ended up they were thrown in jail, and he literally had to get them out of jail with a pardon because they were praying by an abortion clinic. And this is what you get, folks, when there's a vacuum. And we don't need that for sure. Bring it on. Our God is strong enough.
The enemy's goal is to silence us. And we went through 4 years of silencing, and it's time to speak up. We're here.
Yeah. Well, folks, we hope that you enjoyed the update. We're going to focus more on some good stuff next week. And did you know, I'm going to leave you with this. This is the ultimate good news. I'm telling you, God's moving. This is an undercurrent. This stuff that's popping up, this is stuff that has to be exposed. Did you know that at another Baptized California event this last weekend, thousands attended? The beach was full as far as the eye could see, and in 60-degree temperatures and rain, drizzly weather, almost 8,000 people were baptized in one day. God's showing up. This is what it takes. We hope that you have a wonderful day wherever you are. And folks, we'll be back soon with more news, with more conversation, and hopefully more encouragement to keep you informed, inspired, and always, Kevin, independent. Think for yourselves. Y'all have a good evening. God bless.